Podemos começar, então? Por gentileza, se Márcio estiver me ouvindo. Então, ótimo. Então, bom dia a todos novamente. É um prazer estar aqui fazendo oficialmente a abertura da nossa sessão científica, que hoje faz parte da programação do primeiro encontro brasileiro de patologia digital. Então, é um prazer dar as boas-vindas. Eu vou passar a palavra. Só preciso dar uns recados antes da gente começar oficialmente, né? Então, hoje a gente está com a transmissão direta no YouTube. Quem estiver no YouTube e tiver perguntas para fazer ao final, por favor, pode colocar no chat, que a gente vai fazer a leitura aqui das perguntas depois, no momento da discussão. E quem estiver aqui presencialmente, a gente pede que desligue os celulares, coloque no modo silencioso. Então, vou convidar o professor Luciano Rebouças, que é professor do Instituto de Computação e é professor do Departamento de Ciências da Computação da Universidade Federal da Bahia e muito em breve será servidor também aqui da Fiocruz. Então, por gentileza, professor.
Obrigado. For the next talk, I will speak in English because as it will be in English. Okay, so let me introduce Dardo Goyeneche, who is an Argentinian physicist working in quantum information theory and quantum computing. He obtained his PhD from the Universidad Nacional de Mar del Plata, Argentina, in 2010. He has completed postdoctoral fellowships at the Universidad de Concepción, Chile, and the Universidad of Gdańsk, I think it's Poland. Universidad of Warsaw and Jagiellonian University in Cracovia, Poland. Currently, he holds the position of associate professor at Pontificia Universidad Católica de Chile. He has been involved in projects funded by agencies such as Fundecity, the European Commission, and the Joint Templeton Foundation. With over 30 publications in Index Journal, he has also been serving as a review for over 10 international journals, including Physical Review Letters and Nature Communication. So it's an extensive curriculum, and I will let the opportunity to have a quantum computing talk right now. Thank you, Don.
Many thanks, Luciano. Many thanks to all the organizers for letting me stay here and present this work. The idea is to introduce you, but this is not really an introduction to quantum computing because the introduction to quantum computing is a book of this size. But let's try to do the best in 1 hour. So one of the most important messages is that quantum computing is not an accident. It's not something that one day some scientist woke up and said, oh, let's do the same that we can do with a computer with atoms or in a nanoscale. So what happened is that quantum computing is a result of 120 years of evolution of quantum mechanics. So given this amount of synergy along so many years, the good news is that quantum computing is not easily stoppable. So it's a train going faster and faster. And I will try to summarize the most important aspects. So let's start for the qubits. What is a qubit? So everybody understands what is a bit. A bit, if you have a coin, you have two possible outcomes, two possible results. But in the quantum world, a coin can be in a superposition of two states. Yes? Could be, for example, I don't know how do you say in Portuguese, cara ou seca, the two. Cara coroa. Cara or coroa. We have two options, cara coroa. But in the quantum world, you can have half cara, half coroa. But it doesn't, I'm not meaning that this is 50% each of the possibilities. It is really a superposition. Both states are alive at the same moment. They are jointly surviving. And if you don't disturb the system. And if you do not observe it, it survives in this state, in this strange state of quantum mechanics. So this is the superposition principle. So basically, this principle says that if you have two physically possible states, then the superposition is also a physical state. And this is only valid in quantum mechanics. There is no analog in the classical world. That's why we cannot imagine what this means. We can try to think how does it look, try to put it in our mind, but our mind is classical. We live in a macroscopic world, and then it is impossible for us to really understand the superposition principle. But let's try to think about it. When one try to observe the superposition principle, it is required to have a measurement, because observe is also a measurement. Some photons have to come to your eyes. So this is a quantum measurement. So when you observe a quantum system, if you send a photon to a system and then there is a scattering process and you observe the result, there is a collapse in the quantum system because there is an interaction. The system is perturbed because this photon has to go to the system, it hit it, and then goes. But this process, this hitting process, is not at all innocent. It's not like in classical mechanics that classically here I can say, oh, this table is black. I'm not disturbing it. But this is not true. I'm disturbing it because there are many, many millions of photons coming here and coming to my eyes. But classically, there is no crucial effect. But in a quantum world, a photon on an atom is very aggressive. And that's why there is the collapse principle in quantum mechanics. So this means that you cannot observe exactly how nature is. It's completely impossible. You can only interact and see the result, but you cannot see exactly how is the system. So let's try to make an experiment. Suppose that you physically prepare this superposition of zeros and one. You have the two sides of a coin. You are not observing, but then you send a photon, you see. And when you see, there is the collapse. It goes to zero, to one of the classical possibilities. Then you prepare again and observe, and you get one. And it doesn't matter how many times you observe, it's impossible to see the superposition. And this is because the measurement apparatus are classical, of this size. It's not quantum apparatus. So you can interact with the quantum system, but with a macroscopic measurement apparatus that has a label, and you read the label, and the label is classical, it's not quantum. So all the results are classical. It's impossible to see quantum results. This is very important for quantum computing. Something much more surprising occurs in the case of 2 qubits. If you have 2 coins and superpose them in this way, so you have 2 coins in 0 superposed with 2 coins in 1, the strange thing here is that the reality of these 2 coins is not individual. They are connected. This quantum state cannot be written as a state of one coin and apart the state of the other coin. They are mixed. The existence of these 2 particles is mixed. And this is called entanglement. This quantum state contains a very precise information. And this information means, well, here it says Alice and Bob, because in quantum mechanics we typically say that one of the coin is called Alice and the other is Bob. So suppose that the first coin is Alice, the second is Bob. So first you have existence of 0 and 1 superposed with existence of zeros and 1 of the other coin. And there is a very precise information in this state. And the information is that if you have one coin in 0, the other one is also 0. And if you have one coin in 1, the other one has to be 1. For instance, if you look your coin, okay? Suppose we have 2 coins separated, prepared in this state. If I observe my coin in 0, I'm sure that the other one is in 0. It doesn't matter if I'm here and the other one in the moon. It's an instant effect. The collapse is an instantaneous effect. And one may think that this effect can be used to send information. Because if you can send information with zeros and one, you can transmit a message instantaneously. But this is not the case. And why is not the case? Because when you interact with your system, you cannot force the result to be 0 or 1. You cannot do whatever you want. This is the unpredictable nature of quantum mechanics. If you have this state prepared in an equally balanced between 0, 0 and 1, 1, half of the time you will get 0, 0, and half of the time you get 1, 1. But you cannot force one of those. And this is a basic principle of quantum mechanics. Because otherwise, without this principle, there is a violation of relativity theory. Because it's impossible to transmit information instantaneously. So the superposition principle is a crucial and essential, superposition principle and also the unpredictability of quantum mechanics are crucial to avoid conflict with relativity. And this effect is called entanglement, and in Portuguese is emaranhamiento, or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not sure if this word is used in your language. Yes? Very nice. In Spanish, it's entrelazamiento, but it's not used colloquially. And the information stored here that once I have 0, the other part has 0, and once you have 1, the other part has 1, is stored in the wall, not in the parts. This is something exclusively occurring in quantum mechanics. There is no analog in classical physics of this consequence. The information is in the wall, but not in the parts. The parts only see randomly 0 or 1, both parts. But if they collaborate, they can understand that they are correlated. And they can find the information stored in the state. And this is very important. This principle is very important because of cryptography. You can store information and make it 100% safe, impossible to decode, because none of the parties has information. They have to collaborate to decrypt the secret. That's why quantum cryptography is quite important for the future. Let's try to have an example, trying to be more visual about this effect that information is stored in the wall and not in the parts. For instance, suppose that you have a quantum book. So this book, you have it, you open it, start to see the pages, but you see that they are white pages. First, second, you go up to the end, and all pages are in blank. But the information is still there. All the information is in the book, but the information is not in the pages. It's in the book. This is very strange. It's impossible to understand how does it work. But this is the world of quantum mechanics. And this is very much related to the advantage of quantum computers. Perhaps you sometimes hear about this Schrödinger cat. Schrödinger cat is an idea that had Edwin Schrödinger to try to move this quantum phenomenon superposition to the classical world and created a paradox, very interesting paradox. Because suppose you have, in the quantum world, you have a radioactive particle, this is fully quantum, but then you have a detector, and depending whether this radioactive particle decays or not, you activate a mechanism, and there is a hammer here that goes to a cyanide capsule and kill the cat. But this is a quantum procedure, so at some point there is a have to have 50% of possibilities to have the decay or not, and there is a quantum superposition of these states. So there is a quantum superposition to have activated the hammer. So there is a quantum superposition to have the cat dead or alive. This is the paradox. So the cat that is macroscopic is dead and alive at the same time, because everything is in a box, and you are not looking at the box. If you have all this experiment in a box, in a closed box, and you are not opening, then you don't know if the cat is alive or dead. But the resolution is quite simple because the cat is macroscopic, and every set of 10 to the 23 particles, the quantum properties decay immediately. So the cat cannot be, but this is part of the explanation of Schrödinger, that there is a superposition between these states, but this is not true because the cat is classical. And when it's classical, immediately get disentangled. Classical particles cannot be entangled with anything. So the paradox is easily understood now, but in the 30s, it was a big problem. Okay, and this is a small joke, that cats are cats, and they always find a way to do what they want. Well, quantum computer is like a set of Schrödinger cats. So there are many cats that you try to put in boxes, and you want to keep them there, and they want to get out. And it's really hard to manage all these boxes and try to force them to do what one is trying to do. So let's move a bit to quantum computing. And a good introduction to quantum computing is to see the Moore's law. So this is a law established by Gordon Moore, one of the Intel co-founders, who found in the early years of computing, he realized that the number of transistors that you can put in a chip, in a computer chip, duplicates every 2 years. So if you realize a log-log plot, there is a line. This red line is the Moore's law, and all these blue points is the real equation. And if you have a look, and our computers right now are very close to this limit. Even so, some scientists say that the Moore's law already is dead because of, for instance, for this graphic. The evolution, for instance, if you measure the performance of processors, it's not an exponential evolution anymore. It's trying to have A7, A9. It's not extremely much power for the computer of 2 years ago. But in the 90s, it was extremely different. So it's getting stuck. And the reason is because it is difficult, very difficult to increase the number of transistors in a chip right now. And because of the heating also. The heating problems. It gets heats very, very fast. What is the main advantage of a quantum computer compared to a classical one? Well, the classical sequentially, one after the other. But the quantum computer works with entangled states and solve problem evaluating solutions simultaneously. That's the advantage of quantum mechanics. And this comes directly from the superposition principle. It can solve many things at the same time. This is why quantum computing is much better than classical in general. And this is more or less the current state of the quantum computers. There are different kind of technologies For example, you can do computing with atoms, with photons, with ions, and the most popular version is with superconducting qubits. That is our quantum circuits, so circuits extremely small with microcurrents. This is the most successful version of quantum computers today, because you can achieve them a big number of qubits. Well, this is not updated. This is up to 2021. I will show you later another screen with more updated information. But even for this state, you can see that the superconducting qubits are leading, because in this technology, the advantage of this technology is that the quantum chips can be printed with the same technology than these chips. And then it's simple to fabricate. And in the other case, it's harder to increase the number and harder to control. Every technology has a problem. The main problem here is the coherence. The coherence is the property that make you lose the quantum properties due to the connection to the environment, because the computer is connected to an environment. It cannot be perfectly isolated, because this computer has to work in extremely low temperature, so low that it has to be very close to the absolute zero. And this is very bad, because it's hard to construct, hard to isolate, and any small increasement in temperature immediately makes you decay the quantum properties. That's the main challenge here. But photons are very hard to entangle. Ions are hard to scale, because you cannot control thousands of ions individually and make them interact. There are many problems in different technologies. And here we see more or less the fidelities. It's quite good for several quantum companies having superconducting qubits. Nearly to 100% of fidelity, so the quality of the operation, of the quantum operation is quite high right now. And this is the situation for IBM, for instance. Look how it scales. In 2019, they had 27 qubits, then 65, 127, 473, more than 1,000. So it's scaling exponentially. And for 2030, they expect to have around 100,000 qubits in a quantum computer. And this is a very serious number to start to solve big problems. So that's why now people, despite now we don't have the most powerful quantum computers, we will have it very soon. So many companies are already adopting the quantum computer. And this is how they look right now. So they are very big apparatus. It's very challenging to arrive to the low temperatures required to go up to the 0 Kelvin. And this is how it looks when you remove this white part. And now I have a question for you. Do you know what is the quantum computing? The quantum computer here, everything is a quantum computer? Or it's just one part? Any idea? Do you guess? Nobody? Yeah. It's quantum, so it cannot be very big. It's here. In this black dot, well, this is the part where inside this part is the quantum chip. But of course, it's a nanoscale. You cannot see it. All the rest is the refrigeration process and connections. Cables connect, because it's very challenging, because you need to have almost 0 Kelvin temperature, but you need to have connection to a classical computer outside to control it. And it's very hard to construct all technology because you see many cables here, but these cables are not made of copper, of course, because it cannot be semiconductor. It would be a very bad idea to put a semiconductor inside here because it will produce heat. And to produce heat inside here, it will be completely destroying the main intention. So everything inside here is made of superconductors. And this is the quantum chip. How does it look? You have resonators. You have here the qubit. This is a 7-qubit quantum computer. And not all of them interact each other. So some of them are connected and some of them are not. And it's not a good idea to connect every pair of qubits because these contribute to the coherence. So if everybody talks to everybody, the quantum properties will decay even faster. So this is made on purpose, of course. And how do you control this? Well, there are electromagnetic pulses. Electromagnetic pulses come to here, interact with its cavity. This is a cavity, this is a circuit. A circuit, if you remember, if you took some course or basic electricity and magnetism, if you have a circuit, what can you put in a circuit? You have the cable, you have resistance, you have capacitor or inductance. That's all. But you cannot put a resistance here. So you can only have capacitor and then inductance, and that's all. And this circuit is nothing else than capacitor and inductance. But if you quantize the capacitor and inductance, then you get discretization of the energy levels. It's not continuous. So the energy, when you have a quantum particle trapped, is discrete. You have finite amount of level. There is no energy in the middle. And this means that if you have infinitely many levels, you can take the first and the second one, and you call the first 0 and the second 1, and you forget all the infinitely many modes that you have above. You only focus on the first 2 modes. And this is the 0, this is the 1, and it doesn't matter the rest. And this is the quantum computer. Yeah? Every qubit is 0 and 1 in energy. 0 and 1 means different levels of energy. But, well, there is a small letter because the inductance is not a traditional inductance. It's something called Josephson junction. That is, if you take a superconductor cable and you cut it and you paste it, it is immediately transformed into something very similar to an inductance. But it's non-linear. And this non-linearity means that these levels of energy are not equally distributed. And this is very good because if you have equally distributed level of energy, there is more confusion. There is more confusion when you want to go from one level to the other because due to errors, if you are in 1, but you think that you are in 0, and you want to go up, you will go to 2. And this is not interesting because we don't have a 2, we only have 0s and 1. And the only way to have a clear difference between the levels is to try to avoid the same gap of energy. So if you have different gap of energy, for sure you will not go to another one. Because if you are in 1 and you give this gap of energy, you will return to 1. You will not go into 2. But this is just a small detail. And this is how a quantum circuit looks like. So there are many ingredients here. So this is like a pentagram. So every line represents a qubit. And time goes in the right direction. So you start you start with, I'm sorry. You start with your computer prepared in a quantum state, in a reference quantum state that is all qubits in 0. This is the initialization of every quantum computer. And why 0 and not 1? Because 0 is the lower level of energy. And it's very easy to prepare. Because if you want to prepare the quantum computer in 0, you just need to wait. If you wait a long enough time, everything goes down, naturally. Like, oh, I don't have anything. I will break something. But everything goes down, even the qubits. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to prepare in 0, and then you apply some operations to qubits. That this operation can be local operations, so operation that only applies to individual qubits, or they can be bipartite. And these bipartite are very important because they connect qubits. If you only have local operations, if you only act on individual qubits, then a quantum computer will not be better than a classical computer. The advantage is in the entanglement part. An entanglement is created with these green gates. And then you have the measurement phase. So at the very end, after you prepare your state, apply your algorithm, you need to measure to see the results. And then after measuring, the state collapses, you get your results, and you have lost everything. There is nothing quantum after the measurement. Very good. And this quantum gate is nothing else than a pulse. You send an electromagnetic pulse with a very precise shape for a very, very precise time. And in this way, you are saying to the system to do a specific operation. That this is a unitary operation in the space of the quantum state. So it's a rotation. You are rotating the state as much as you want, and you can do it thanks to the pulses. So in other words, you can fully control the state of your system with electromagnetic pulses. Very good. And the title of this talk was the future of computing is quantum. This is true, but we are here. Mm-hmm. So the best classical computer is not growing fast, but quantum computing is growing exponentially. Mm-hmm. So at some point, nobody knows when, but at some point the quantum computing will overpass classical computers in many aspects. Not sure that will be in all aspects, but for the moment, there is a very few applications where quantum computing has demonstrated to have a real advantage over any possible classical computer. But for concrete applications, you can have extremely good results using quantum computers. So now let me show you a bit of numbers of the market. So countries are investing a lot of money on quantum, but this is not because of quantum is nice and they want to understand. The governments are, the countries are very, very interested to see how dangerous could be quantum computer in the information side, because if you have a quantum computer, a powerful quantum computer, you can decrypt all secrets, because the secrets, the information, the way that we protect secrets is thanks to algorithms based on factorization number. So for instance, when you buy something in internet, this is secure because behind this operation, there is a very big number that a hacker cannot factorize in a small amount of time. So if you give 2 months, he will do it. But in 1 minute, during the transaction, this is impossible. But if you have a quantum computer, you can do it. Not only with a transaction, but also with the secrets of a country. So that's the way, that's the reason why the governments are putting a lot of money in research in quantum, because they are really interested to understand and to lead this technology. For instance, here you see the number of patents in quantum technology. And it's very interesting that China is by far leading for the moment the situation. And this is more or less the worldwide effort. Many countries put in a lot of money. Even here you can see that Brazil is putting a lot of money. The first world countries put, of course, billions of dollars. And in South America, the situation is still in a disadvantage compared to the rest of the world, but it is going much better than the last couple of years. And look the situation for the head of the market, the expectation. Look for 2028, the expectation increased extremely compared to this year. So any number that you see in quantum computer is growing exponentially. This is very interesting. And this more or less summarizes the market, the quantum computing market. Look here, there are some actors involved in the hardware design. So this company perhaps are not familiar for many of you. This company fabricate the separate, not the QPU, not the entire computer, but parts inside the quantum computer. And here are the companies that are trying to build the quantum computers. And here there are many well-known names like IBM, Rigetti, AWS, Google, Toshiba, that is not here. Basically, any company that currently works on classical computers, it's also in the way of quantum computing. And basically because none of them want to have the same situation like Kodak. Do you remember Kodak, isn't it? This died. And why died Kodak? Because they didn't trust on the digital photography. That's the reason. And they disappeared. And all these companies are going to the future that is quantum. That's the reason why all of them are here. And this column is very interesting because there are companies, these ones are even more, investing a lot of money to develop software for a hardware that does not exist. So they're creating software that cannot use now, cannot use next year, cannot use in 5 years, but at some point will be used. It's very strange. Applications and users. And here you recognize many names. Merck, Airbus, BMW, Bank of America, JP Morgan, AstraZeneca. This is well known in the last year. Many companies. All of them are using currently quantum computers to optimize process. So the current state of quantum computing is good enough to be applicable to solve interesting problems. I will try to go faster because otherwise I will not finish. Well, factorization number is one of the applications. This number, 40, is very easy to factorize, but this one is hard. And the short algorithm is the quantum algorithm to factorize and can factorize numbers in polynomial time. But in the classical way, the best known algorithm is increased exponentially with the number of digits. So there is a very big advantage of this algorithm. But this is the main reason why people is scared that secrets will be decrypted. Well, there are other problems that I don't like to go much in detail. You can use quantum computers to optimize molecules, to find the optimal structure, in drug discovery, material designs. And why in these problems related to quantum mechanics are useful quantum computers? Because these materials, drugs, molecular stability, all these problems live in the quantum world. And the quantum computer understands better the quantum world than the classical computer. So they talk the same language. So a classical computer trying to solve this kind of problems, they solve it, but in a very artificial way. You have to put the equation and solve it. But the quantum computer leaves the molecule, leaves the situation. That's the reason why it's much simpler to solve problems. And this is a very interesting example of a quantum computing application. Right now, the Hamburg port, the traffic lights of the Hamburg port is controlled by a quantum computer. It's a very complex system to optimize the traffic, and not only in the port, but also in the airport. Where to go, every plane, in which gate, this is decided by the quantum computer. It's very efficient in this kind of problems. Typically, in graph problems, it works very well. Well, here, very close to here, in Uruguay, there is a startup trying to do similar things. And in Brazil, I found this information about Cubra, that is another startup doing very interesting things. But let's try to focus to the most important part. This will be interesting for you because recently the Cleveland Clinic acquired a quantum computer for research. So they have their own quantum computer specially used to healthcare research. And this is a very interesting paper that I wanted to show you, especially here for you, because this paper summarizes the state of the art of quantum computing application in health and medicine. And if you can see, there are very nice things here. Quantum machine learning is used to solve problems, and this is the kind of problem that they study. Drug candidate, diagnosed based on medical imaging classification, predictive patient persistence, forecasting treatment effectiveness, and tailoring radiotherapy, among others. I will show you some details now. For instance, here in this table, here we have the quantum algorithms that you don't have to care about this column, but this column is very interesting for you, I guess, because this is the focus of study. Virtual screening in drug discovery, classification of molecular description data, toxicity screening, image reconstruction, classification of ischemic heart disease, classification of breast cancer. So there are many, many different applications that already were considered in medicine. Well, there is a long list here. I can share the presentation later for someone who's interested. And this is another very interesting paper because they consider the quantum deep convolutional neural network for image recognition. Look, here they say that the quantum network complexity analysis indicates the proposed model provides the exponential acceleration compared with the classical counterpart. Well, they showed explicitly the quantum circuit, so this is simple to do. I had a look to this paper just last night. I didn't understand fully all the details, but it looks very reasonable to how to do these kind of things. So I get very much interested on this topic. And there is something very remarkable here, because the image apparently is encoded on the coefficients of the quantum state. But one of the big problems is that when you store information in a quantum state, you are not very sure whether after preparing all your state, how much the information survives and how much is lost. Because time is passing, and when time passes, quantum coherence decay. But now, very recently, this month, I would say, we had a result within our group, and now we can certify that if you have 12 qubits, the 12 qubits is 2 to the 12, the dimension is 4096. So you can have an image with resolution 4096 by 4096. And this is achievable with a precision of 80%. So 80% in the sense of fidelity of quantum state. You are very, very close to the ideal state that they want to prepare. And this means that perturbation of the information in each entry is almost zero. So this means that images of resolution with this size is fully possible. I'm not sure if this number is good or not, but this is fully possible. This was my citation last night, so I have to understand better. I have to read it with more details, but I think that this is a very good direction to try to advance. Okay, finally, to conclude, classical computers look like in this way in the 60s, and now we have this. And in the quantum side, we have this big apparatus that have many problems, like this one. But in the future, something interesting will occur. So we are really looking forward for the new results in the quantum computing. So many thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dardo. I'm going to pass to the audience the microphone to ask you questions. Before pass the microphone to Luciano, I'd like to make a question. Último. But, eu vou ter esse privilégio de fazer logo, porque eu tô com uma dúvida aqui atroz. Okay. Dardo, you mentioned that as the time passed, you lost the coherence quantum. It means that if the algorithm is running more than necessary time, you're gonna have wrong outcomes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If your quantum algorithm is too long, you are starting to lose the beginning of the code.
Okay.
This is very bad. That's
Okay.
why one problem is to translate your application to a quantum code, and the second problem is how to compress it. How to compress it, and this is very challenging because for many applications we already know the quantum circuits, but this quantum circuit cannot be applied right now because of the coherence.
Hi, Dardo. You introduced us about the qubits. Zero ones can be together, overlapping. And I'm going to make an analogy. Good people and bad people can do the same. And as you described, the quantum can break any sort of encryption we have nowadays. I'm worried about security issues. If this quantum is not already working for good and evil to solve problems that normal people here just think they don't exist, but they are there. Let's say, for example, the United States Army or terrorists, they can apply this into anything, right?
Yeah, well, that's the problem with any kind of new technology. So the human being when stand up and take a stick and understood that this is useful, the next day hit some person. So it's in our nature to use any possible technology for good things or for bad things. So, but for sure, the good application will be much more than the bad ones.
Thanks for your talk. I understood that the quantum computing is great to solve problems, very fast and big problems, but it's good to store information like images, because we have this problem right now to store big amount of images. And I will have a quantum computer in my desk or in my institution, or do you think I don't? I will have no time for that.
Well, when something important difference between classical and quantum computers is that the quantum computer cannot have a quantum store device a device to store information. So this has to be classical. So the disk, the rigid disk, has to be classical. It's impossible to be quantum because precisely by this the coherent principle, when you put quantum information, it disappears, and the quantum properties disappear sooner or later. But later, when I say later, I'd say 200 microseconds. So you can put 3 giga of information in a quantum disk, but it will disappear in 2 nanoseconds or even less. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. The quantum computer will be on the side of the processor. And once you process information, you have to go to the classical hard disk. Yeah, that's how it works. And the other question, when are we going to have a quantum computer? This was more or less. I have no idea. And nobody has any idea. And most likely, when a quantum computer will be developed, it will be a secret, for sure. Because nobody knew about the Enigma machine, isn't it? So it will be exactly the same, I'm afraid. Nobody will know when the quantum computer is ready, because suppose that the United States already have it. They will not publish a paper, or they will not go to the news, of course. They will use it to decrypt secrets of China and United States. So it will be used as a resource for many years until some point that the secret will be filtered, right? But this is very important advice, but it's the reality.
It's like any technology. They always have the
exactly,
technology
exactly.
far away before it came to the public. But
For sure.
have you finished? Yeah. I became very sad what you said now, because I was hoping that we can store petabytes of information that they are trashing. I don't know if you were aware that they are trashing image that we have. We're eager to have image. They are trashing about 3 months because they don't have storage space, and the quantum computing thinks that they will not resolve this problem. But data storage is still a problem. That's maybe the big problem that we have us. We don't have more a problem of computation. We have a problem of store information and to transport information. That's the two big problems today. Set aside the problems of heating and energy consumption. That's the problem that nobody's talking about. I don't know. And my question is, in computer architecture, conventional computer architecture today, we have a lot of concern about power consumption, about energy consumption. How efficient in terms of energy consumption are the quantum computers today? Maybe they will improve, but they are feasible, okay, but how many energy they consume to operate?
Well, currently they consume a lot because you have to go up to 0 Kelvin temperature, and this is very challenging. But if this problem of temperature is solved, for instance, if some superconductor, new superconductor material appears that works in a much higher temperature, the amount of energy consumption will be minimal, much lower than classical computer. Because ideally, it does not produce heat. So there is no problem. An ideal quantum computer does not consume energy. Just almost zero, an epsilon. Because you only need currents, but they are microcurrents, nanocurrents. So it's almost zero the amount of energy that you need. Very small power. Yeah. But right now, this is not the situation because you need to go up to 0 Kelvin, almost 0 Kelvin, and this is extremely challenging. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Hi, I just want to say thank you for your clarifying talk. And it's very inspiring. And I think that's what I was looking for a long time. And it allows us to move forward from the cause-consequence paradigm. And it's very important for us in neuropsychology because when you come to biological material, it's okay, but when you move to electrical activity or magnetic activity, you need to move from the linear models and you need to have cyclic models to explain cyclic phenomena. And this paradigm, I always thought that we had to have a more integrated and gestaltic model without the segmentation to explain it. And that's what I'm very excited about machine learning, not only about diagnosis or classifying subtypes, but for the possibilities of having different analyses, combining the measures. And I think that the quantum rationality gives another possibility to move forward and have a model that can truly reflect this body-mind interface. And that's just a reflection. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yes, the quantum machine learning is very interesting because you can combine the power of machine learning with quantum, so you can solve a machine learning problem in parallel, all the problem at the same time by using a quantum computer.
Any more questions? Just the last one.
But a problem that comes to my mind, Dardo, if you can solve in parallel a huge problem like machine learning is also about storage the weight of the models that we learn the weight of the function. If the weights are loose with time, how may we store the learning that we have done? We have to use another conventional memories to store the weight, to store the learning of the algorithm. But this learning must be very, very, very fast. So if not, I will lose the learning that I have already stored. That's correct?
Yeah. For some problems, for instance, when you want to optimize the structure of a molecule, you don't solve the full problem in a quantum way. So the idea is that you divide the problem in a classical and in a quantum part, and then you iterate the process. For instance, if you want to minimize energy in a molecule, you start from a point, you follow the gradient with a classical computer, then you calculate this energy, the expectation value of the Hamiltonian, that is the operator associated to the energy. And then once you have this number, you return to the classical computer, optimize, you have an output, return, calculate the energy again. And this kind of hybrid, yes, exactly. It's a hybrid algorithm that is better than a classical algorithm. Yeah.
Dardo, on behalf of the organization of the event, I'd like to thank you for this clarifying talk and awesome lecture. And I will pass the words to Natalia to finish the session.
I also would like to thank you all of you for being here today. And the talk is already available at YouTube if you want to see it again or share it. And so we see you all next Friday again for the next session. And thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.